That's right. It is Thursday afternoon, and this evening out there at the James Medford Event Center, they are going to have the big chamber meeting. Floyd, I understand you're going to be out there this evening.
Yes, right after I leave here, and I'm going home and get dressed, go out there. I think they start at 5:30 with the meet and greet and
That's
everything.
right.
So I have to be out there because the chamber does a great job in our community, very supportive. So I'm going to be out there just like you.
Absolutely.
We're going to be out there together.
That's right. Show the flag, right?
Yes,
That's
yes.
right. Well, you know, there's a lot of things we're going to talk about here today because the Senate is back in session.
That's right. We went back last week, but this week we were in pre-functory. The Senate did not meet in session, just committee meetings and everything. I had to go down yesterday. I had a meeting. I stayed over for the state of the state, and that was the only day I had to go down this week. But we'll get back in full force next Tuesday.
Yes. And bringing up the state to the state, you know, I got to ask you. I know you're a Democrat. Haley's a Republican. I know she said she'd never raise the gas tax, and here she comes up with a plan that says that she wants to raise the gas tax 10 cents. We've had the lowest gas tax, I think, in the country, I think,
Yes.
16 cents.
It hasn't been raised in years.
And a lot of people had been questioning what it was going to do all during the campaign, and even before the campaign. She was saying she was going to wait till after the election to unveil it. Since you were down there, what was the reaction when she said she was going to raise the gas tax, albeit it's got some caveats?
Yes, I think everybody was surprised because, whole 4 years, going to the 5th year, no, I will veto anything for a gas tax increase. I will veto it. I will not. I'm not in favor of it. You're doing now just a turn of events and everything. So just like you never say never.
Never say never.
Never say never. But I think everybody was surprised about her change in opinion, because she's always been saying if there's any proposal to increase the gas tax, I will veto it.
Sure.
Now she comes out with a plan with a 10-cent increase.
Yeah, and then, of course, though, that has to do with something about lowering the tax rate from
Income tax
7 to
and
5.
Yeah.
But you know what? The thing that I have about that is the whole income tax structure needs to be redone here in our state. Looks to me, in just quick reading this, that we're only going to, I'll use the word, attack one part of it. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, I think you're correct. And I think one thing, there are a lot of things need to be looked at. There are a lot of laws that have been passed, they're on the book. And I think periodically we need to revisit those and see that a lot of times some changes need to be done to something. The way things were done 20 or 30 years ago, there changes might need to be done now to correct those things and everything. So I think you need to revisit certain things periodically.
Well, I've had some people come on, some politicians, and say that our tax code is kind of like a leaky hose that you keep putting a piece of tape around to keep it flowing, but it's not streamlined and it's not good, and there's a lot of inconsistencies.
Probably need a new hose, right? When you
need
have
a new
those
hose.
leaks in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of just go patch it up, let's look at the whole hose and see about replacing the whole hose and everything.
But my question to you, do you think there is I'll use the word, the stomach to attack, to start working on the tax code? We keep hearing it every year. Oh, yeah, we're going to do the tax code, and then it gets kicked down the road again.
I'm not heard. I don't think this session, I don't think you'll hear the stomach being there. And I haven't heard much talk about replacing the hose and everything, straightforward. I doubt very seriously.
Okay. Well, see, that's why I had you come on here so we could have some straight talk here today. Now, one of the things that, and then it's also tied to redoing the Department of Transportation.
See, there are a lot of things tied to this,
The gas tax, right.
The gas tax, and everything. And a lot of those ties, I say, wow, I don't see that happening, and I think a lot of people say, hey, how are we going to do that and everything? So, it might be one of those things, yeah, I will do it, but you can't get certain things done that you want to have tied to it, so it's not going to happen. I don't know.
So therefore what you're saying is because she has put it as a tied to, that no gas tax will happen because Even if they did the, what is it, 7 to 5% for income tax, you don't think they can redo the Department of Transportation?
Both of them tied together. So, to get a consensus, it'll be hard, I think, right now. So that's why I say, it's not one of those done deals.
So what are we going to do about our roads? I mean, this was a way to raise money to get our roads and bridges fixed. What are we going to do, Floyd, in the meantime?
Well, and if you get through the winter with me, I have a solution.
Okay.
You get a bicycle just like I have mine, and we're going to ride our bicycle. My son bought him one for Christmas, so we'll just get bike trails.
Bike trails.
Really, it's hard to say, Ann, because, what DOT say we need, really increasing it 10 cent on the gas tax is just a Band-Aid for what we need to do. We're going to have to come up and be real objective and come up ways that can really put some money in the DOT to fix our roads and bridges, because they are just deteriorating further the longer we make. We're just going to be real and get away from this idea about no new taxes or no taxes and everything, because there's no free ride. We're just going to bite the bullet and come up with some type of ways, to generate funds that really going to make an impact, not just putting a Band-Aid here and there.
The head of Michelin Tire made some kind of deprecating comments about our roads here in South Carolina. And I had somebody on who said, wow, he made these comments, and yet he's got a lot of tax advantages for being in our state. What did you think about that, Floyd?
I'm not aware of the statement he made and everything, but yeah, these companies coming in, they get big incentives and everything, and they get fee in lieu of taxes ideas and everything.
Right.
They're saving a lot of money, and then they come out. So I really can't say, because I don't know.
Because you don't know the comment, but it was basically that our roads were very bad.
And he's right. He's right in everything, and I know we got Boeing coming in, all these companies coming in. Got Bridgestone down in Aiken and everything, they're coming in, and I guess.
Well, you need to be able to move product, right?
That's right. Got to move products, and they might be glad with the bad roads, because it might tear up tires more, and they sell more tires. So.
Well, I actually saw an interesting figure that said in the state of South Carolina, it's costing each driver about $1,300 to keep their car going and repaired and everything from the bad roads.
I remember seeing that also, and I was just amazed. I was really amazed at that. And a lot of times it's true, because you have the potholes and everything. You hit it, might tear up your tire, your car knocked out of line. Periodically going back to get your car lined up. If you don't get it lined up, it's going to ruin your tires and everything. And so I was amazed and everything, because a lot of times we just take things for granted, and everything. But I was just amazed when I saw that and heard that also. And just think about costing each car that amount and the number of vehicles we have.
Right.
Wow.
Well, yeah.
So,
of course, one of the things that they do say, if they did increase the gas tax, we'd be able to spread it over more of the tourist traffic that comes in.
Passing through, because I know a lot of people said, hey, I wait till I get to North Carolina before I gas. I wait till I get to South Carolina before I go to North Carolina, before I go to Georgia, because it's much cheaper there and everything. A lot of talk now, now they're saying this is the time to do it while the gas prices are down and everything,
So, and that's what I said to myself. Everybody, even the federal government, is saying, oh, the price of gas is down. We need to tax it more.
That's right. So, and on the other end of it, you're talking about with the gas prices being down, they're talking about people being put out of work at the refineries and everything, so it's hard to say, one good thing then look like it's a bad thing on the other end, Everything is a ripple effect,
It is.
It's good on one side, then on the other side it's bad, because they said these refineries are going to have to cut back on their employees and everything, So I don't know. It's a tough situation, but I know we're going to have to do something to fix our roads and bridges. Look at what happened. Was it in Cincinnati?
The bridge
Collapsed and everything,
Yeah.
And so it's just not a South Carolina problem. It's a national problem that we're going to have to combat. I know last summer we were out in San Francisco, and they were doing some renovations to the bridge there, and they said it was costing, was it $680 million and
You know, you
everything.
can't even fathom that type of figure.
Wow, so it's a national problem everywhere, with the condition of our highway and bridges.
You know, I think the thing about it is we built this country and built the road system back with the Works program.
Yes, put the people to work and everything, right,
And now here we have roads that are in very bad shape, and yet we don't have people at work. So
exactly, and just like say, we're a small state.
But we have the biggest road system. Fourth in the country?
That's right, to maintain and everything.
Of public roads.
That's right.
Public roads.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing. Absolutely. Hey, I tell you what, I'm here with Senator Floyd Nicholson. If you've got a question or a comment, give us a call, 229-7984. That's 229-7984. We'll be right back. Oh, that's right. We're right back here, Sharp Facets Gallery. This section is going to be about education. We're going to split this up so we can talk about a lot of different subjects here today. But the lawsuit that finally, after 20 some odd years, in fact, Abbeville was involved in it, finally passed, and the courts have said that it does need to be equalized throughout the state. We've got to get these rural districts up to a certain level. What I found interesting, Floyd, is the court said it's not about throwing more money at the issue, And sometimes we think that just throwing money is going to make things better.
I agree totally. And it's not all about money and everything. You need teachers that care, that have compassion, and are concerned about the kids learning. They're devoted to doing whatever they can to make sure that those kids learn. That's a big part of it, and everything, and I think it's so important, I know I came up through schools when they were segregated and everything, but we had teachers who cared, who did the best to make sure that we did the very best at all times. Parents were supposed to say, hey, go and do your best. They were concerned about us doing this, because I know back then when you think about, they say, separate but equal, it was not equal, because I never will forget when I would start school each year, when I would get a book, and in the back of the cover they used to have the names listed of who had that book the previous year.
Okay.
Why I never knew any of those kids, and I said, wow, we were getting the hand-me-down books, from the white schools.
But were they good books?
They were good books.
Okay.
But it's not a new book that was up to date.
Okay.
You see 4 or 5 names down there. That book been in use 5 or 6 years. I'm trying to remember if I ever got a new book.
Well, think hard, Floyd. Did you ever get a new book?
I don't know. And I applied myself, and everything. But, just to think about, making sure that we have the resources in the schools so that kids can get the best possible education. And I agree totally, it's not all about money. It's about having compassionate, caring teachers and going to make sure that every kid can do their very best. And it's not just up to the teachers. The parents have to be involved, the community, and everybody.
Well, that's the biggest, I think that's a big chunk of it, is that we have in our school system adopted an attitude that the teachers will teach them. The teachers will do this. And as parents have stepped back. And maybe because they're working 2 jobs and they're trying to do all this, they're tired. I mean, there's a million reasons, but that has been, I think, a big issue for, if not now, in the past, it certainly has. This last generation that has come up.
Yes, and I agree, and the kids must realize, that they have to present, they have a job to do too, is to go there, good behavior, be on their P's and Q's, and do their very best. As I said, do their very best. I didn't say make all A's. Everybody's not capable of making all A's, but everybody's capable of doing their very best, applying themselves, and thinking about the future, because education is the way out. I know it was a way out for me. It's a way out because that's something that cannot be taken away from you.
Sure. But I think you said one important thing, being on your P's and Q's. That's become an issue. Just the simple graciousness in our schools, in society in general.
Yes.
It's all about me. It's not about us. It's about me is a big attitude that a lot of our kids have today.
And I think a lot of time, what examples are we setting
Well, that's true, too.
That's a big part of what examples are we setting. Are we out there showing the kids all about me, not concerned about each other and everything, and they pick up the habits from us. So I think it's a lot has to do with the adults, the examples that we set, and the way that we conduct ourselves in front of our youth so
Sure.
that they can get the right attitude and everything. I think it's so important. When I worked in the school system, I used to tell teachers, catch a kid doing something right to give him praise.
Sure.
Every kid wants to be praised. I don't care if it's the worst kid there is.
Right.
Give him praise. I'm going to give you an example. I worked
You're
in
going to give me some praise? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Floyd.
I'm going to give you an example of something that happened to me, a true example. I was in Walmart about 3 years ago. They were having a little program, and I was in there. And I saw this kid, and he said, Mr. Nick, I need to see you. And I looked over there, and it was a kid. I said, oh, I remember that kid from Northside. Oh, God, he was one of the worst kids I had, and everything. And I looked, he had grown up then, and I said, I used to get on his behind, I said, oh, God, he probably want to take me out back and sell things right now. I've been looking for you, Mr. Nick. He came over there, and this is what this kid told me. He said, Mr. Nick, I've been wanting to tell you something. He said, when I was at Northside, I know I was bad.
Mm-hmm.
He admitted, I was bad. I gave you all kind of trouble. But I realized the things that you did, Mr. Nick, you were trying to help me. And I've been wanting to tell you, thank you, Mr. Nick.
That must have made you feel really great.
That made me feel better than any paycheck I ever earned.
Sure.
He said, I realize now what you were doing, and I just want to tell you thank you. I got a job, and I'm doing well now, Mr. Nick.
And that's terrific. But, my question to you is, what do we do about the adults that don't really have an idea, have an idea on how to be parents, not be friends, but how to be parents, and to teach their children well?
That's the big problem right there. We got to get programs to work with the adults before the children can make an impact, One time after I retired, I went back to work at the middle school as a case manager.
Mm-hmm.
And they had me go take this course, parent as trainer.
Okay.
It was training, and I went off, and it was amazing. I went there, about 44 in the class. I was the only male, because most of the women were case managers. And they learned, say, you need to go in and work with the parent on how to be parents, because a lot of these young parents, they don't have the skills to be parents,
Sure.
And if they don't have the skills, how can they train their kids the right thing to do?
Mm-hmm.
So we got to have problems to work with the parents, and everything, and working with the kids, because where does the first training start? At home.
Exactly. And where is it reinforced at? The home.
Home.
Right.
That's right. We can obey your parents.
Right. It doesn't matter what the teacher says if when they go home to their parents or parent,
that's right,
there is nobody there reinforcing it. It kind of goes out the window till the next day.
That's right. You're talking about 7.5 hours, 7 hours in school. Where's the other of the 24? At home.
Right.
And everything. So we got to have the community work with the parents, and having parenting programs, and I know the thing about it, you can have these programs, but the ones who really need to come don't come.
That's what I was going to say.
So we need to go on their territory, and everything. And I found out a lot of them figure that they don't have necessary skills. They're afraid to come into the schools, when you have parent conferences and everything. They're afraid. They don't show up, the ones you really need to see. And we got to find a way to work with them, go and tell them, hey, come, we need you to come in, and remove that stigma they had that they cannot come. They feel embarrassed by coming in.
Sure. Well, that goes all the way to kids being embarrassed because they can't read, so they drop out of school.
Yes.
I mean, that's the same type of philosophy.
Yes, very same thing. They're embarrassed and everything, because kids used to tell me, I'm just waiting till I get 16.
So I can drop out.
So I can drop out then, I'm 2 years behind, I know I'm a little behind in my reading skills and everything, so,
And it's hard.
It is.
Hey, we're going to join South Carolina Radio News. We'll be back in just a moment. Don't you go away.
Are you a pirate or a pack rat? Do you have a vacation of a lifetime sitting in the attic? Or a college tuition hung on a wall? Or is a fabulous retirement hidden in your jewelry box? Bring those items to Sharp Facets Gallery. We can establish value and buy from you or sell for you. And so ends another chapter at Sharp Facets Gallery, 72 Bypass, and on the web, sharpfacets.com.
Today.
That's right here at Sharp Facets Gallery, right here on WCRS 1450 AM, because you need to know we have the one and only Floyd Nicholson with us. You know, we were talking about education, what we should do about education. I know that you told me you're not really up to speed, but one of the things that they are talking about is a statewide property tax to raise more money. I'm just throwing that out there. That's one of the things they're talking about. I don't really think we should try to get into it. But one of the things I did want to say that has been successful in education is how they've allowed scholarship programs for special needs. They've capped it out. Maybe it's a program that could be, I think there's some talk about expanding it because companies and whatnot have been able to do something. That was a good thing that came out of last year.
You know, when you think about the education of special needs problem, you know it takes more money for those kids because, you know, they have so many things going on. It costs more to educate a special needs child.
Sure.
And, you know, we want to make sure that they reach their maximum potential also. So I think that's great, you know, to have funds for those additional services that are going to be required for those special needs kids and everything. So we need to do everything because, you know, when you think about kids coming for public education, whatever comes through the door, you expect it to educate them. And the special needs, they're entitled to the best possible education just like every other kid, and it takes more for those kids. So I think that's great.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that is a big topic out there is whether we should have the dollars follow the child and be able to choose, have school choice, or do we need to keep our public schools, should public schools be the end all, and then if you want to send your child somewhere else, you can do that. But what is your opinion on that, Floyd?
I think my opinion is the state constitution says provide a free public education for all kids. You know, and I think that's state's responsibility to provide public education. I have nothing against private or Christian schools, any of those, but if you want to send your kid there, it should not be the state's responsibility. So
they should not have vouchers that follow.
Right.
Now, what about the online schools?
Virtual schools.
Virtual schools, yeah.
You know, I think some of those are public.
Okay, yes.
So?
You're with it.
I'm with it.
Yeah.
If it's a public virtual school, yes.
Okay.
That's alternative means of educating your child, yes.
Now, and I know that one of the things that Governor Haley brought up in her inauguration speech was the fact of having teachers scholarship, shall we say, if they go back to maybe where they're from, if it's a lower education or a rural area, or teachers that go into that area and stay for 2 or 3 years, this type of program. What do you think about that, Floyd?
Well, I think, you know, I really have to think about it, you know. Is it an effective teacher?
Right.
Are they going to do a good job and everything, you know? Just to go back, you know.
May not be a good teacher.
Exactly. You know, because we need, just like all teachers, I think.
Well, how do we get quality teachers all across the board? I think, isn't that one of the questions that's hard? You know, it's like once a teacher is... what is it called after they've been teaching for so many years? I forget the term. You know, tenure. Yeah, there you go, that tenure word. How do we make good teachers all the time in all levels?
Well, it's hard. It's just like any employer.
Yeah.
You can't guarantee you're going to have all good employees, right?
Yeah, but you can let somebody go if they're not producing, right?
Well, there's a way to let them go.
Even if they're tenured, it becomes a little harder,
It's a little harder. There's a way, you know, but it comes a little harder and everything. And I think the process, you know, it's with an individual just like anything. I always say, I don't care what job you had, do your very best.
I know. But do you think teachers should have to be reviewed Do you think they should be? I mean, there was a lot of conversation when Zace was there that he was setting up this educational where they did a lot of reviews of teachers and this type of thing. And some of the teachers I know were really incensed by the review type process that they were looking at.
I think they need to be reviewed some form of fashion, and everything, but you just can't base it on student performance and everything, how well a teacher teaches. There need to be some type of review process, but it need to be one that's going to be for the benefit of the teacher to help them and everything. A lot of time now they just say how well the students succeed and everything. If you got a class, the worst kids and everything, the parents are not encouraging them to go to
I think you should just turn around and walk out and say, I'm not going to teach these guys.
And I started teaching in 1972. My first class was a physical science class. I had 35 kids in there.
Big class.
Yes, and a lot of those kids, were seniors who needed that class to pass and everything, First thing in the morning, after my first week or two, I said, wow, I wish I was back in college right now and everything. But I began to like it, and everything. I'm going to get it out there, and the kids started respecting me and everything, large class, but they had respect. Coach Nick, I'm going to do my very best, and I worked with them and everything. And, it wasn't a concern about the big check that I was going to receive at the end of the month, but it was the performance of those kids, making sure those kids were better prepared to go out and graduate and become good citizens.
Now, that brings us to, you talked about the big paycheck you got at the end of the month. What about where we are paying our teachers today? We talk about making sure we have technology. We talk about making sure we have good classrooms. You and I were talking off the air about a school where they don't have any heat and it gets cold and, all this kind of stuff. And how can you have students learning if it's too cold or if it's too hot? Mm-hmm. But what about teachers' pay for today's standards?
I think the salary need to be increased, because they do it. Overall, I say our teachers do a great job and everything. And when you think about it, they complain about teacher salary. Some people, they train the doctors how much they make. Mm-hmm. They train the lawyers how much they make. They train every particular profession there is. Am I right?
Right.
And so why we complain, about the minimum salaries that they are making when they are training people to go out and make millions or billions.
Right.
And everything. So I think, teachers need to be compensated because they have so much to do. They have so much to do. The teachers need to have an increase in salary. And by the way, when I started teaching, I made $600 a month.
A month?
And guess what that included?
What?
Teaching 5 classes, assistant varsity football coach, head JV basketball coach, weight training. The coaches cut the grass in the summer. We started practice the 1st of August, went to camp 2 weeks. $600 a month before taxes.
Wow. You were rich.
I was so rich, I started to retire after 3 years, but I loved it, so I kept working.
Why did you become a teacher?
At the time when I finished college, I was from Greenwood. I was a biology major, and I had an opportunity at the time. They needed a coach to come back home, and I said, well, I'll go back home for a while. I didn't have a car or anything. I said, it's a job to start out. And I was able to come back home. I said I could stay at home, a while, save up a little money, a few years, and move away,
Never happened.
Never happened. I got here. I enjoyed teaching, and I had some family situation develop where I need to help the family at home and everything, stay here. And started teaching, enjoying it. And I met a young lady.
Yes.
From Promised Land. And she left Promised Land with me, so I said, that must be good. We worked to get to the Promised Land, but she left with me, and it was a whole new story.
And boy, she has done well. That award, the Achievement Award that she just got, boy, Mamie Nicholson certainly is a big asset to our community.
Thank you very much, and I tell you, she's done well, and everything. And that was a turning point in me staying here because I came to the realization everybody can't leave.
Everybody can't leave.
Why don't you stay here and try to make a difference?
Well, you certainly have, Floyd. You've been the mayor here. You've gone on and become a senator, and you've worked with kids virtually the whole time, even when you've been doing these other jobs.
Thank you. I've enjoyed every moment of it.
And it's
really
terrific.
have.
It's terrific. All right. Well, we're going to hear a quick word from our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to talk about the monument. And Floyd is going to be working on changing the law. So I want to talk to him about that. Hey, I hope you stay right with us. We'll be right back. If you've got a question for Floyd, give us a call, 229-7984. That's 229-7984. Oh, that's right. We're right back here. And Monday afternoon at 2 p.m. in Uptown Greenwood, it was, of course, Martin Luther King's birthday day. And there was a very nice ceremony in Uptown Greenwood where the mayor unveiled the plaques that they would like to place on the War Memorial. Floyd, you were there?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Very good ceremony.
It was a very good ceremony.
Yes.
But out of this whole process, I guess the Heritage Act, which is what this law is that we're talking about, states that you cannot change, move, or alter any monument, war memorial. I mean, it has a whole list. And the War Memorial in Uptown Greenwood Monument is under that. One of the things that I think that was another issue there is that it is on city property.
Right. I think the law states that if you have any monument on property of the state or any subdivision of the state, which the city is a subdivision of the state, the monument cannot be altered in any form or fashion. Now, although the American Legion, they own it, but it's on city property. And that's the problem right there about it being on city property. It cannot be altered according to the law that's on the books right now.
Sure.
And what we are trying to do is working on an amendment, to try to get it altered where we will be able to change the plaques, and maybe have them put in the museum or something.
The old plaques.
Yes, the old plaques.
Now, what type of, I know that our city attorneys were looking at it, and then I know you were talking to the attorneys down there for the Senate, I guess. Is that correct?
Right,
Now, what type of direction are you thinking of trying to do? How would it get reworded to?
Right now I can't say because I talked to the attorney and he said he was going to look at it. We're not in session, so I'll get with him next week to see if something will be drafted just to that one monument or something, statewide. I really don't. He said he was going to research it to try to make sure we had the appropriate wording where we could get it passed, no guarantee. But he was just going to try to look at the wording in a proper way where we could get it passed, and not have a big blow up about it and everything.
Sure, because it is a state law.
Right.
Now, that law actually has been challenged many times since, it started in 1976, I understand.
I think so.
And then it was rewritten in 2000 or amended in 2000. This came about because of the Confederate flag issue.
Right. That's the whole issue right there, and the attorney was saying, it's all tied in with the flag. That's why we got to be very particular in how we try to word just to get that where we can change the names listed on the monument out and everything.
So that's why I'm curious, because even last June or something, there was a challenge to it with the Citadel down there on their property. They have a flag that is hanging from one of the buildings, and I understand the county Charleston County was trying to withhold $937,000 or some figure close to that anyways, and they were told by the state's attorney they could not do this.
I hope we can get around because this is not a flag.
And that's but it's a war memorial, right?
Yes. Because the flag is very, it's a hot issue.
The flag.
Yeah, the flag. So we're going to try to make sure that in the wording we have nothing mentioned about a flag.
Now, question though, if you tried to change this so that war memorial plaques or whatever can be changed, how would that affect all the monuments in the state?
In talking about this, he think you're going to talk about just about the names being listed on there, not whites and colored, just being alphabetically. I don't know how the other memorials have. Do they have that? I don't know. I know
there are some that that list them white and colored because that was the tradition for that time in history, right?
And a lot of people say we're not messing with history. History is the past. everything that happened in history might not have been done right.
Yes, okay. But
We're not altering history.
Okay.
We're talking about people that were killed in a war.
Correct.
We're listing their names.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The names are still going to be listed.
Sure.
So how are we altering history? We're recognizing the people that were killed in a war.
Right.
And we're still going to recognize the people that were killed in a war. How are we altering history?
Well, I think that, actually, I guess the way that you would be, if you want to use the word alter, and I'm not sure we want to use the word alter, but if that was what was proper for the time, and it was changed in 1948 when Truman came in and integrated the military.
That's the way it was here. When they were over there fighting,
yes,
were they listed as white and colored when they were shot at? Let's shoot at the white. Let's shoot at the colored.
I don't know. They might have been. I don't know.
I doubt very seriously.
I don't know, Floyd.
I doubt very seriously.
I doubt it
and
too.
And I've heard a lot of it. John Drummond always said, when we were over there, we were all the same.
Sure.
While they cannot be listed the same when they come back to be dedicated.
Well, I don't know. But as far as, quote, the argument that is out there, that was history, and some of the people have been suggesting that a plaque that then teaches why the change, why was it listed this way and why isn't. Actually, Eric's position was from the standpoint of history and the National Park Service. The National Park Service would erect a plaque that says this was this way, this is this way, when history things changed.
Mm-hmm. They changed the plaque, put them in the museum.
Sure.
Still got history to explain, right?
Sure. I mean, you still do. But, there's all different ways to come at this issue.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I just wondered how you were going to approach it from the standpoint of, because this may be one issue, but what about some of the other issues? And I'm not going to get specific and say, well, what about this? But what about some of the other plaques? Should we be able to change all plaques to reflect what it is today? That's the question, right?
Yes.
And that'll be the question on this law.
And I think it's up to the people.
Up to the people?
Yes. Down there, how do you feel we should have it represent in this day and time?
Mm-hmm.
I know it was like that back then. What do we want our kids to know now?
But should the kids know that this is where we were and this is where we are now? Should kids know that? I mean, that would be the next question.
A good question, but I think they need to know where we are now.
Would they not know?
A lot of kids really don't know about that.
Know about what?
How it was, segregation and everything. I talked to a lot of kids. Oh, was it really like that? They don't know.
Sure.
They really don't know,
So, should they know? That would be my question. Should they know that at one point our military was segregated and that this is the way it was done and now it has changed?
Yeah, they probably should know, but my whole thing is when they went over there and fought together and everything, they should be listed together as one.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
George Melvin called in, why not just deed a 20 by 20 piece of land back to the Legion, then be off the state rolls? Move the monument?
Someone mentioned to that, deed that little piece of property to the American Legion, then they can do it as they see fit and everything. And,
okay.
It's a possibility if somebody did say that deeded to it, so there's several things to look into. And I think that was a good idea. So might be a possibility to look into that. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Just deed it over to the American Legion. They own it. Then they can do whatever they want to.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then of course there was at some point I heard some conversation about moving it over to the Veterans Center.
Because
or to the American Legion.
It was moved there because it was located somewhere else. I think
originally.
I think. Commander Weeks was asking me, he said, now, when did they move it here? Because he said he left, I think, in 1969 to go into service. And he said it was located somewhere else. And then they moved it there. So I don't know for sure,
Well, because we went back and we're looking up some of the articles, but the only thing we couldn't find any pictures of people. We could find a picture of the monument.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think we saw any real background because I don't know even what was built back then in 1929.
I don't know where it was originally, and everything. So.
Wow. But it certainly is a topic that is going to be now. If you go through, I guess if you went and deeded the piece of property, that would take it off the hook to having to change or do anything about the law.
Yeah, I don't know. I've talked to the mayor and the city manager about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to talk for just 2 seconds here. This is WCRS right here in Greenwood. But if you go ahead with trying to get the law changed, one of your I guess ideas that I heard today is that it might just be for this monument.
That's what I can't say. The attorney said he was going to look at it whether to pursue just for this monument or something statewide. So I really can't answer now. I don't know which way he said he's going to research and see which way he think would be the best way to try to get something done where it could pass.
Okay. All right. Well, regardless, it has been an interesting conversation and one that I think that should have been had.
Yes, I think so. There are always two sides to each story.
Or four.
Or five. But, you have to listen to both sides. And the thing about it, let people make up their mind, about things. And the main thing is we don't need to come up somewhere we are divided because we cannot grow as long as we're divided, We come up with a solution unless you unite together and go forward.
Absolutely. And, of course, there are laws on the books for reasons, and if you don't like the law, then I guess you need to go ahead and get it changed, right?
Yes.
And that's what you're talking about doing it. Okay, somebody just called in and said it was over by the train station. So maybe we've got it resolved right here on WCRS.
Okay, so good. I didn't know where it was. Okay. So down by the train station, where the train station used to be down there.
That's what it says. It was over by the train station.
All right, well, we'll take that, and I'll take that to the mayor, and we'll see what's what.
What's what.
Okay.
Floyd, I always appreciate you coming on. I appreciate very much your candor and your honesty as we sit down and talk about issues. Thank you so much for coming today.
And thank you for inviting me. I always look forward to coming on to your program because you're so open and you're looking at both sides. And that's what the media should be about, expressing both sides, putting information out there because people have their own minds. They could make up their mind about certain issues and everything. It's not a dictatorship where you're just going to tell one side. It's about opening their mind, and I appreciate how you've done this year in our community, kept people abreast of issues in the community, and let them be open to express their views about everything we have in our community. And I thank you very much, Ann.
Thank you very much, Floyd. This is WCRS because you need to know. Hey, that's going to do it for us. Don't forget to be out there with the Chamber event this evening. It's going to be a good one. Understand there's going to be a special announcement. Bye-bye, everybody.